Hey everyone. First of all, I want to say thank you so much to everybody who has subscribed. I now have, let me tell you, I have, oh my gosh, 60 subscribers. Wow. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys. I also wanted to say that I appreciate everyone who's been waiting this long for the show. I am excited. So, welcome to Black Girl Nerdy World. It's all things anime, cosplay, gaming, and comics. And I like to just kind of like dive into my journey of nerdom. That's what I call it. And I'm doing this because I'm looking to like explore more of my different personalities that I enjoy when I'm cosplaying or that I'm doing comics or when I'm out with people. Like, I really enjoy talking with people, meeting new people, and just having an amazing time. So, tonight's show is going to be really kind of geared towards, getting to understand some of the history of, comics. I'm going to talk to a young lady that I met on Instagram called the Mighty ZO. She goes by Z. She has amazing commentary where she discusses all kinds of comics and animes that have Black characters, and I think it's pretty cool. So I followed her, and she really has some real great information. She's also a history major, and guess what? Not even in the country. She's a history major. She went and got her PhD, I believe. Yeah, I think that's what she said. In England at Manchester University. So, like, super incredible. I am like super honored to have her on the show. And also, I have Mr. John. Well, he likes to go by Skirts. I think he goes by Skirts. But Mr. John, he's awesome. He actually has a dual aspect to tonight's episode. We'll be discussing some of his comics and his viewpoints and why he kind of got into the comic game. But mainly, I want to get into like the writing styles. I like to talk to you guys about how you could actually think about different ways of writing. Sometimes it is important to have education behind it. So I think that's kind of awesome to be able to share with you guys on that. Addition to that, we'll discuss more on like pacing and just different ways to kind of like, write. I think it's important to understand that. And he can go more in depth with that. And then lastly, if you guys saw my interview live, which was not supposed to be live. So as you all know, I am not a techie, but we had to go live because I was like, I gotta get this interview in. And that's what Mr. Iwarni with Bose Saga. He is incredible. He gives us an African tradition to comics, and I love it. And it has like an inward inspiring message to keep going, and it really related with me too, because I felt like I can understand, like, you may not get where you want to go when you want to go it when you want to go to it, or you may not have what you want, but if you just keep striving for it, amazing things can really happen. So like this show, it came up as a thought and now it actually is here. So just keep chugging at it, and it has an amazing storyline. Also, just getting the understanding of like how you struggle when it comes to creating content such as a comic book. Like, nobody really talks about that. I mean, they do, but they really don't. You know what I'm saying? They really talking about what came out of that, which was their amazing product, right? But to understand the struggle of a content creator that is breaking out here, breaking barriers, changing the game, such as freestyle comics, like really being able to embrace so many different aspects of Black is beautiful and it should be celebrated. It doesn't mean I have to have a superhero cape on, but it could definitely mean that I have this will inside of me that actually inspires the world. So I love that aspect of being able to bring that out in Black content. Um, and I just kind of want to share that with you guys. So this is really my journey into nerdom. So just to kind of give you a little background, when I was younger, I used to game with my brothers. I had two younger brothers that I used to game on my older brother's console, and I was that one that would just I would just hit I would just hit that button. I would just go crazy. Like I would hit that button, right? And so doing that, my brother got upset with me and he like took and Donkey Konged me in the head. I was like, no, I don't need to do this no more. I said, you know what? I need to be outside, hanging out with the girls, not in here whooping y'all in some Mortal Kombat, which was like the last game I played, to be honest. So I kind of stopped gaming. I was huge into like Dragon Ball Z and then like getting into Sailor Moon. I had a couple other Pokemon that I liked, but I was, young, doing, following my brothers and what they liked. And I was like, I like that too. But however, once I kind of stopped gaming with them, I started hanging out with girls. It changed. It changed to wanting to go, hang out, wanting to go talk and all that stuff. So this is my journey back into that. However, now I'm more mature. I don't have to fight my brothers anymore for the console. I'll just go buy me one, right? Or for the controller, so to speak. But this is kind of the things I do. So I have the PS5. I thought that it was cool. Honestly, I originally got the PS5 as like a spite towards somebody. I know, childish, I know. But I was like, I wanted to be the only girl he couldn't game with. So that's kind of what I originally bought it for. And then it just became something like my little cousins and my daughters and some of my friends come over. We just do tournaments and we do fighting and battling. And then my little brother, he introduced me into Outriders. So much so I have a song called Outriders and I think I might upload it. Wow, and have y'all see it because it's hilarious. It's a hilarious, like I felt it so much I made a song behind it. I love anime. My favorite animes right now is Demon Slayer. If you know me right now, the past like since like the summer, Demon Slayer is it. I mean, I literally had been waiting. I was blessed because when I came into Demon Slayer, because it was a trial run for me. Like I went into the first one of the first ones I started watching was Naruto, and was like killing it. Like every episode, I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. I knew it. Like I felt like I was connected with the show. Like I knew we could control chakras. I felt like all that, right? So for me, I started there. And then I branched into like Hunter x Hunter, some of the Netflix ones. That's kind of how I was, the kids have Netflix. So I just was going through Netflix and, start Hunter x Hunter, Seven Deadly Sins, Bleach. I promise you guys, I really did try One Punch, but I only tried one episode. So that episode didn't really connect with me. So I just kind of was like, I don't really get it. I'm not connected with the whole pirate thing. Maybe I should have gave it more than one episode, but it wasn't really something I was into. But then I got into Attack on Titans. Buddy, Attack on Titans. If you're looking for that action, if you're looking for that like the gore of the and bones and woo, I ain't even gonna lie to you. Attack on Titans is it, okay? It gives you every gore thing you could think about. And I'm just kind of like, whoa, this is a little too much, but I gotta keep watching it. I gotta keep watching it. And it just was like amazing. So we're into season 4 of that show, Attack on Titans. So check it out. You can see it on Hulu. Hulu's amazing. Also, those are just a few things. So we're going to get into anime. So every week is going to change. So right now we're talking about comics. Next week we're probably going to talk about anime because I don't know what happened. Maybe my Hulu did not allow me to see the new episode of Demon Slayer, or maybe they like went on a break. I don't know, but I'm kind of upset because I'm like, where's Demon Slayer? I literally waited to the end of the night on Sunday before I went into the doctor's. Yeah, all that. Everything's crazy. But anyway, um, I was waiting on it. So I definitely want to wait until next week, see if it come through. If it's the last episode, then I can review it with you guys. So I think it's really cool. Moving forward from there, we're going to talk about cosplay. So you guys know, if you don't know, cosplay. That cosplay. Oh, by the way, I'm not a techie, so I'm still learning these things. I do have a chat text because I can respond and I can see, like, for instance, um I cannot say it. Geronimots, no, Monots. Geronimots said, "Welcome back to the world of gaming." Gaming, this goddamn game right here, it gives me so much anxiety. Woo! I'm gonna tell you right now, my energy stays on like 100. I be checking my pulse with my Apple Watch, and I'm telling you, it be like high 90s. Because it's like the way you gotta play this game, like you gotta beat these levels, and it be like 100 shots over your head. You can try to you try to run, you get hit, like literally. I mean, thank God for the powers. I could like and then suck their powers up. Yeah, I like that. That's awesome. But rejuvenate my powers. But yes, I'm happy to be back in gaming. So then we're gonna do cosplay. Cosplay, you guys know I'm Vigilance in the comic book Freestyle Comics. I will always rep that till I die. Love, 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 love Freestyle Comics. Flagship, hot shot, but you know I'm down for Vigilance. So cosplaying as Vigilance, having the content creator and some of the artists on the show to talk about it. Also, we're going to be discussing my new cosplay. Y'all haven't seen it yet, but it's coming through. Like, y'all see the blonde. Y'all know where I'm going with this. Don't play these games. I am coming for the Storm Crown. Do you understand me? Like, I'm going to have my TikToks together and everything. Also, I haven't really told y'all too much about this. Y'all probably seen a little something, but I got this thing on TikTok, right? TikTok is crazy, okay? I found a niche and it's working. Now, y'all know I got these big old chi-chis, right? Yeah, God bless me, God bless me. But, I figured, hey, I'm grown and it's pretty selective. I got a nice little following on TikTok. So if you guys want to know what that is, let me know. I can DM you because it is not for kids. It's mature content only. What a little fun. All right. So then we've got the gaming. We talked about that. We have the anime. We talked about that. We have the cosplay. Oh, having cosplayers on the show to interview them, discuss, their journey as a cosplayer. I think all of this is really going to be amazing. And I want you guys to be a part of this whole journey. Okay. It's about to be crazy, and crazy in a good way. So yeah. Outside of that, guys, I'm excited. And I want to say thank you. This is kind of my personal blog / journey into nerddom, and I want you guys to be a part of it and see all of my crazy quirks. So comment in the comment section here if you guys know, if you guys seen my latest video that I posted. Have you seen it? Have you seen it? Mm-mm. Have you seen it? Let me know, because I just recently made a post about what happened last night. And we can get into that, obviously, but just go check it out. It's on YouTube. You guys were complaining about, oh, why aren't there any videos? Well, I haven't had any videos. Now I got videos. So check it out. There's videos on there right now if you guys want to browse through. Let's see, what else did I want to talk to you guys about? I wanted to answer any questions, like if anybody had any questions. So I will kind of give you guys a second to kind of like think about that if you want. But if not, it's okay. I'm a big girl. Also, what do you guys think? What do you think of like the logo? That's something I was interested in hearing from you guys. What are you guys thinking about the colors? I love the colors. I'm into this whole fuchsia look, I love it. So let me know. I want to talk to you guys too, because tonight is going to be my debut, and I want you guys to talk to me and talk to my guests, obviously, right? Right. Outside of that, everything's looking like it's running smooth. I'm not a techie person. So if there are some techie people, please, please comment. Okay. This is why it took it so long. It's because the technological aspects of this show. Like this, I was paying for like two softwares that did the same thing. I didn't even know what it was. I was like, I've already signed up for this, but I was paying for it. Didn't even realize that. So, it's a lot. Like if I could start over, which I mean, I just started, but if I could start over, I would probably just pay somebody to do this for me. But finding that person, how? How do you find that? So on my gaming nights, I'll be bringing in some amazing experts in their fields to be discussing software that you can purchase that's probably affordable, get you different types of like new tech, like my boys over at Tech Craze, get you guys a PlayStation 5 because that's where I got mine. I mean, I got a bundle, so I kind of went all out. But the point is, yeah, I had a good time. You know what? I did not ask if my guest was on Eastern Standard Time. That probably would have been a little bit smart, right? And I know she probably would have told me if I asked. How many times have you guys done that before? Where you kind of like in the middle of doing something, you're like, I forgot. I completely forgot. Let's see here. Instagram. Hey, I'm about to ask her now. We're going to find out together. Hey, what are you on Eastern Standard Time? No, she knows. Yes. Let me talk to this. All right, just in case, because I like to be on time. What's another thing we can discuss? So we've got the gaming. We're gonna obviously talk to experts. I really want to bring you guys some really great gear, like some good like computers, mixers, headphones, mics. Like I want to be able to bring that to you guys, and with the experts, we can make some great recommendations for anybody who want to look for something on YouTube or what. I mean, not YouTube, but on Amazon. The other thing is on the anime, I'd like to do some trivia. I'm huge on playing games, so trivia is important. So I want to make sure. Oh, she's responding. Let's see. We're gonna find out. Check with it. Okay, we're on the same side of the country, guys. um, let's see. I can switch my dialect. I can sound real country, and then I can also, I don't know if I can do it now because it's kind of going to be sounding country, but at times I can sound Caribbean. At times I can sound like those two, and then normal, and then hood. Because I grew up in Columbus, if you want to know. I grew up in Columbus, Ohio, but I was in California for the past 8 years. So I learned a lot in California. I learned a lot about business. I learned a lot about networking, and I met some incredible people. Like you wouldn't even believe it. That I'm still connected with to this day. So there are some things working. Music. Come on now. I didn't want to have to be playing Drake all the time. So I figured I make my own music, right? I got my own music that I'll be able to provide. I'm excited for that. And my next guest that's coming, her name is Z. Z is amazing, guys. She's she's into like black female characters. And that's what I am. I'm a black female character. I research, like right now I'm doing Storm, but I'm also collecting her all of her comics too. So a friend of mine had came over and kicked it with me for a little bit and was just hanging out, was watching TV. And he's like, "Are you just gonna watch X-Men all day?" I'm like, yeah. He's like, what? Like, you don't want to watch nothing else? I mean, what else is there to watch? If I want to be Storm, I need to see how Storm is. I need to see her in the whole aspect, like all aspects. So yeah, it's X-Men all day. But I also like regular movies too, like Marvels. I love Marvel movies. Oh my gosh. I always wanted to be Tony Stark. I don't know about y'all, but Tony Stark is the bomb. He rich. He's a philanthropist. Oh yes, thank you, boo. I can't wait for Storm 2. Oh, so Royale 89 said she couldn't wait for Storm. Y'all just hold on, because I got a couple photographers that I'm working with, and it's about to be like, who's she? You know what I'm saying? Yes. Let me check on my mama, make sure she okay. Okay. You know, sometimes your phone, the charger on your phone, like that's why I got mine thick. I don't know if y'all can see it. Mine is thick. You ain't about to just you ain't about to just break on me. Okay. I done had too many chargers. How many chargers have y'all had if y'all iPhone people? I've had about, this is probably my fifth, maybe sixth charger. Look how thick that is. Yeah, that's about as thick as a twig, you know. It's nice and thick. So it don't break right here. Because I be having a lot of issues. That's something else we're going to be discussing. We're going to be talking about the best chargers that can not only hold charge but charge fast, but also it isn't going to have you breaking your bank all the time. Like iPhones is not cheap. Guess what, guys? She's here, and you know, I get to, this is my first time using Restream, so I get to kind of see them right here, and she is so beautiful. She's like, I love it. I do the same thing. I do the same thing. All right, guys. I am about to bring on Miss Z, guys, and we're gonna have a discussion. So hang tight. Wait till she comes back to go. She's sitting. This is so cute. I love Restream because I literally get to see her. She's so adorable. Oh my god, she's so cute. And here
Not
we go.
technologically savvy at all whatsoever. So like,
Hi, honey.
hey,
Thank you
how's
so
it
much for
going?
joining me tonight.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. You're nice to be here.
I
Yeah. So,
understand. Tell me what happened. What happened?
basically, since I was on my phone, I was trying to click the link and it wouldn't let me into the live stream. And so I was like, okay, fine. So then I had to click something else and then open it up in Chrome instead. So that's how I was able to get access.
Oh man, I'm not a techie either. Like I'm the fact that this is working
Yeah.
is beyond me. But I'm happy to have you on tonight. Thank you so much. Guys, I want to introduce you to Z. She is a The Mighty ZO at on Instagram. Do you have a Facebook too?
It's just Instagram and TikTok.
Instagram and TikTok, guys. So I want you to kind of explain to them what is some of your content on your page, Z.
Yeah, well, mostly I just do representation of Black women and Black female characters in multiple forms of media, but specifically I do comics and I also do anime. Um, and mostly just I will introduce people to different characters, interesting characters, and I'll tell you a bit about them, maybe help introduce you into like certain comics they're in or what they're from and stuff like that. Just kind of making it more digestible because I know with comics specifically it can be overwhelming. And then along with that, I do character analysis in which, like, I'll tell you if there's anything problematic with these characters, if there's anything you should look out for when you're reading this, or like, should you or should you not get your hopes up with certain characters, things like that.
Oh my God, that is incredible. First of all, I will be talking to you a lot about a couple of characters that I'm considering doing cosplay for.
Hmm.
So when I do cosplay for certain characters, I get engrossed in like their comics and their shows. So for me, I do understand the research. I know you this month. I saw you were doing some history, some kind of comics on history that has Black women in it in the past. Do you have like two or three you want to recommend for anyone who's looking for some good female Black historic comic characters?
Well, with historic, this one's kind of interesting because like I know like characters like Nubia. are technically considered the first. And for those who don't know, Nubia is like Wonder Woman's twin sister. There's a big lore with it. Nubia is actually technically the first Black female comic character in DC Comics. Some people say it's Bumblebee, but actually it's her. So with this character, you know, she started out like really early on, and we are seeing her reemergence now in current comics. So I'm really happy to see that. Then there's also Tesla Strong is a good one for me. Tesla is technically a DC property, but it's kind of like in the middle somewhere because of copyrights with like writers with the writer Alan Moore. But Tesla and her family, for those who don't know, like her father is white and her mother is Black. She's really cool too. And she was actually the first. It was actually like the first like mixed race family. And Alan Moore actually didn't even know that he was the first to do that. It was just kind of one of those unintentional things. But Tesla is a really cool main character, and I just really like her. To see a Black teenage character that does get to kind of live out that teenage girl type dynamic that we usually see. Because usually we don't really get a lot of that with Black female characters. They're usually going to be either like, you know, very grown women.
Right.
Or, you know, they're going to be like the very hardened character. We really don't see that character type a lot. So that's one I really, really like to bring up. And one I will say is, let's see, because I got like a lot on my mind. Like it's a lot of different ones. Oh, but if you really want to get into like older comic stuff, then you could like look into any there's one. I'm trying to remember her name.
It happens to us all, including me
No
too.
Yeah. You can look into the artist Jackie Orms. Jackie Orms was the first Black female cartoonist / comic illustrator. And there's a lot of really cool stuff on her work, and I really like all this stuff. Especially like Torchy Brown. Torchy Brown is one of her. It's one of her main ones, but then there's also Patty and Joe. Patty, Joe, and her sister. Yeah, that's a really good one to start if you're like really a historic buff.
Yeah.
I like just getting into a lot of different stuff.
That's really good recommendations because for me, you know, being that I'm in the comic area, I want to be able to provide some type of history to, you know, the people that I talk to because, you know, they want to see us being represented as Black women. And I wanted to kind of talk to you about how do you feel about the progression with showcasing Black women in, you know, the mainstream?
Well, I feel like personally, you know, we're seeing it a lot more now. But for me personally, the first thing I will say is that quantity does not equal quality. Just because we're seeing a lot of it does not mean that it's good. Because there's still going to be a lot of issues of stereotyping and issues with colorism, especially when it comes to like things like live action casting. We're still seeing a lot of these issues.
Yeah.
And I think that we have a lot of ways to go because, you know, we're seeing Black women, but one of the main problems is Black women aren't the ones writing them. Black women aren't the ones drawing them. If there aren't any Black women involved in the making of these characters, then a lot of them are just about kind of useless to me. Because a lot of the times when I'm looking at them and I'm seeing these things, it's like you can almost tell like not a single Black person was involved. And and it just gets really bad. So I'm like, you know, I don't care about this kind of promotion of Black women if Black women aren't involved, because it's not about just Black women on the screen. It's about Black women behind the scenes as well. Because I'm like, okay, I'm seeing this, but who's actually making the funds? Who's getting the money? Who's getting that like power and that progression from this? That doesn't really help the community, and it doesn't help Black women. Black women are some of the most underrepresented within comic spaces. And when it comes to that, like, you know, I want to see more support for the actual writers themselves outside of and the illustrators as well. And it sucks to kind of see a lot of Black women, they're only brought on to like specific projects for big comic industries like Marvel and DC. And then after that, they're never brought back.
Yeah. I agree with you. Like to see the context of how often we're seeing Black superhero women versus, white superhero women, not to make this at all a race thing, but to really recognize that, a lot of these characters need to be depicted of what we see, which is why I get behind such amazing content, such as like the Scorpio, or, such as the Bold Saga, or even Freestyle Comics, because they really, help us shape to see a Latino superhero, or a Black superhero, or even someone of weight, with
Yeah.
thickness to them, because they just want us to think one way. And I think it's important to also depict a real struggle for a Black woman, you know what I mean? Becoming a superhero, being able to get into the realities like they do with Superman,
Yeah.
or Clark Kent is Superman, but Bruce Wayne, like these
Mhm.
people, you're seeing them as their youth. You're not really getting that from Storm. You're not really getting that
Yeah.
from a couple of people like Ryder, who's coming in for you know, Iron Man. So it's just, we want to be able to break those barriers. And I think
Yeah.
it's important for them to understand that there are comic characters that are Black superheroes in the history in comics, but we don't know about them because they're not revamping those in the movies. If you could pick a movie to be able to be redone in the movies, what comic would you choose?
If I could pick a movie to be done in comics,
Well, if you could pick a comic that could be done as a movie, excuse me.
yeah, yeah, no worries. Well, one, I feel like I was really disappointed with the Wonder Woman film in general. The first one was cool, but the second one, when it was like, because they didn't really feature a lot of the main Amazons that I kind of wanted to see, the ones that
Right,
we should have seen.
right.
Because for those who don't know, the character Nubia, who I just talked about, she was actually supposed to make an appearance in the original Wonder Woman series back with Linda Carter, but
Wow.
because of, and they had a doll made and everything for it, but because of the time period and everything, people were just not having that, so the
Mhm.
whole idea just got scrapped. Um, and with that, I kind of was hoping, because a lot of people were speculating, well, since this one, the sequel to Wonder Woman, like since this one, it's like this specific, it's they got this theme for it.
Yeah.
Is she gonna be in this movie? She was not in that movie, and I was like, okay, fine, whatever. And yeah, and that's the thing. You'll see a lot of erasure with this stuff. And honestly, like, okay, and then with characters like Vixen,
Mhm.
Vixen was the first Black woman to be a part of the Justice League, in DC Comics.
I didn't know.
But despite this, she's kind of like the worst treated. They gave her like an animated film, but it was
Okay.
probably like the worst thing ever. And
Mm.
they've had this really bad problem of like lightening her skin like really bad, and it just happens a lot. Like sometimes she is like borderline like white. Like there has been points in times where they have made her lighter than me.
Yeah,
Um and that's just been a huge problem too. Like, and I feel like, this character has such a huge backstory and interesting lore, and we couldn't even get like a actual full-fledged film out of that. It just felt like something they were just throwing out there, but not actually something that they cared about, like nothing that they had passion about.
right.
So, that would be nice to actually see that given a second chance.
Absolutely.
And
You
and
gotta
ultimately too, like I feel like another one just would have been like, Storm having
yes.
like, with that, because like, we've seen like some movie stuff, Storm, but I feel like every time, like with the films, they always make her like a lot less powerful than she actually is.
They
And this is
do.
another common problem too. Like, whenever it's a Black character, especially a Black female character, they'll tell you about how like strong and powerful the character is, but they'll never allow that character to be stronger than any of the white characters.
And I did notice that, because even in some of the ones recently she's been in, it doesn't look like she's, given that ability to really flourish as a character and
Yeah,
within her powers abilities. We feel like because she controls the wind, that should be strong enough, right? Or
yeah,
controls the weather. So it's like, I feel like it is limiting her, and it would be great to see more of a backstory. Maybe it could go from where she used her powers, in a worse way, to now she's being modest, to, you know what I mean? To
yeah,
where it can kind of jump into the mindset of how she is now. But even if it could show her as a youth, a teenager, how
mhm,
she probably utilized that power. Just to kind of, you know, most stories kind of change because it's movies, you know, they kind of change the narrative a little bit. But
Yeah.
the goal is, it would be great to see, you know, her, because that is actually my next cosplay, you know, do
Yeah.
more, have more, and be able to showcase more of her powers, like beyond her going crazy and, you know, about to
Yeah.
freeze the world, you know.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing, you know, like with stuff like movies and everything with media, I always tell people like media is a lot more powerful than you think it is. Even if you're not thinking about it, it's still going to be there subconsciously. And I'm like, when they are constantly showing you like these images of like, you know, all these other white characters are like super powerful, but then all the other black characters are getting scrapped and whatever, that sends a message. It,
Yeah.
whether you like to admit it or not, it does. And I see this a lot, even online, where they're like, "Oh, well, this character is better than this character because because people judge these characters based on power and rank."
Right.
I've seen it multiple times. So when they see this, they basically are like, "Okay, well, all these characters have no value then." And they kind of use that as a guise for racism sometimes, where it's like, "Okay, well, all the ones that you're saying are so weak also happen to be black."
Hmm.
Like, and it just becomes a big thing, and I'm like, and people forget that these characters do not exist on their own. There is a team of people behind the scenes, you know, writing this out, making these decisions, and racial bias does play a role in that. There have been multiple characters, black characters, like, you know, if anyone knows Jennifer Pierce, aka Lightning from Black Lightning,
Yeah.
she is considered a literal cosmic force. It is canon that she is stronger than Dr. Fate himself.
Mm.
But writers admitted they didn't do anything else with her character. They never went any far beyond that. I'm like, this could be potentially one of the strongest characters in DC Comics, but because they didn't care enough about expanding the plot of a black female character, we'll never know. We'll never see that. It'll never actually be there. It'll all just be hearsay because there just was not that drive there. Um, and we see this so much with a lot of characters. With there's so many with potential, and you never really see them used to their full extent. Like like there are so many, like, people ask, like, you know, about black telepaths, the ones who have like telepathy.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know, we have like two whole ones in Marvel. Like, you know, we had Monet St. Croix, and we also have Astrid Bloom. And Astrid Bloom is one that I really like to talk about because her story is really interesting to me. Because I'm like, you know, everybody knows Emma Frost. Like, you know, Emma Frost is a big one, but nobody even knows that she stole everything from a black woman. Everything that she has comes from a black woman. Astrid Bloom trained her on how to use her powers. Um, and once she got full control of it, she basically ends up in like a battle, and she ends up putting Astrid into a catatonic state, basically a coma. And
What?
then we never see this character again. She stole her powers, and she also stole her accent because Emma Frost isn't even British. She's from Boston. Astrid Bloom was British.
What?
So she basically stole everything from this character. And the last we see of her is being laid out on a bathroom floor. Um, and then we just never see this character again. Marvel never even brings her up. I have not seen her anywhere.
Wow.
Um, and that leads into another thing too. I talk about this on a lot of my discussions with people, but there is actually an overwhelming amount of black female characters who usually end up being killed off and never seen again, or they get put into a coma and never seen again, or they just never get seen again. It's a
Wow.
lot. Like, I have them cataloged at this point because it actually happens a lot. And I feel like with them, it actually, like, the results of it are actually 2 times more brutal than any other female character I've seen. And like the visuals are very graphic. I don't really show them on my videos, but they're very bad.
Well, I would like to see those personally. So like after we're off of here, girlfriend, I would like to go further into that because
Yeah.
that probably plays into a lot of the injustice that we're seeing. You know, this is another form of
Hmm.
injustice that we're seeing, something that no one's paying much attention to, which is important because, you know, when you start having youth or kids get into comics, they want to look for something that looks like them, that represents them. And all they're running into is what they're promoting right now. And
Yeah.
then they're killing off all of the good, you know, characters that we need to connect with, or not even creating stories. It was just
Yeah.
to start a startup or something. So I love where you're going with that. I would like to have another episode with you on that. I mean, I'll probably make it 18 and up on that one, but the goal is to be able to, like, expose some of that,
Yeah.
put some of that out there so people can, at least if they are looking, they can find something. So that was incredible. I wanted them to know a little bit about you, as far as, like, I was telling them that you actually got your PhD, right?
In the middle of the PhD, not quite there yet.
To me, you started it. Hello. But no, I understand. You actually you went out of the country to go to
Yeah.
school. Tell them where
Yeah.
you went.
Yeah. I studied at the University of Manchester, which is where I got my master's in history. I got my bachelor's in Charleston. I'm a history and African American studies double major.
Woo!
And from there, like, but with the UK is when I kind of went off into more diaspora studies, where I'm looking at international Black history.
Ooh,
And a lot of that ends up looking at like a lot of cross cultural studies.
yeah.
So I'm looking at, not only African American history, but I'm looking at Black British history. But then sometimes I got to look at African and Caribbean, because for those who don't know, a lot of Black Britons are usually coming in from the Caribbean or from Africa, and that's a big thing to analyze from there. So I'm looking at all these intersections of the diaspora and looking at how they play out. And
Yeah.
like I'm like going back to my point about media, is looking at how the presentation of Blackness on an international basis plays out around the world. Because other people, even if there are like one Black person in their country, they have a perception of Blackness. Don't let anybody tell you they don't, because they do. They do. And what goes out on the media, what's put on TV, what's put in movies, that plays a large role in their shaping and perception of Black people and Blackness, or what they understand to be Blackness. And this
Right.
can be either very, not entirely good, but it can also be very negative. And we see a lot of the negatives. That is something that I do analyze, since one of my main focuses is on, Black representation in media and the
Right.
history of that, because there is a long history of the shaping of, basically making us look bad in series, which is why we see so many tropes still occurring. Now they're happening in different forms, but they are still occurring. Like, things like the Sapphire, the Jezebel, they're all still there. They just were able to shift to fit within modern times, so that they're a lot less easily detectable to the eye. Um, but a lot of that, like I said, it takes a toll on how other people see us, because
Right.
most of the time we are not the ones in charge of these scripts. We're not the ones writing these shows. It's all kind of there.
Yeah. It's
So
time for more of us to get in there and start creating opportunities.
very much so, because they've been getting away with a lot. Like, we see so much of it. And that's why when you're looking at foreign media, the
Yeah.
foreign media seems a lot worse in comparison in terms of representation of Black people, because they're going based off of the stereotypes that they got from our media.
Yeah.
So it all just comes from that. And like they have like no one telling them, hey, this is wrong, this isn't right. No, so they just go full throttle with it.
Wow. So what you're saying is what we do here in America is affecting the world.
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
heard that. I heard them say that before, and it didn't really click until just now. By you saying that, it really made, like, the light bulb go off in my head, because I'm like, wow, it's that easy for America to influence the world. Then it makes sense why they are trying to censor a lot of, Black, creators to really grow, because they know that we have the ability to change the world. I think that's crazy that they don't even let us do that.
Yeah, there is a lot. And so really all the world sees of us is like, oh, high crime rate, loud, ghetto, uh, basically just every stereotype you can think of. And they're really only positive perception is that of, hip hop culture. Because you see a lot of them do engage in a lot of the hip hop aesthetic. You can see it anywhere. You have like, people in Korea wearing like, braids, locks, streetwear, all that stuff.
Yeah.
They're all engaging in that side of the culture, but they still have that negative perception of Black people. And this is a really interesting point in time that we're in with a lot of it, because now with like, things like the internet, I
Yeah.
feel like, public perception has gotten even wider because of, how easily accessible information is. And, because of that, we are starting to see a lot of this stuff, like with like places like, going back to Korea, Japan, China, they are engaging in a lot of the stuff like R&B music, rap music,
Yeah.
all of these different things. But because of, like other media, like I said before, these negative perceptions of Black people that they're seeing, they just like that aspect of the culture, but they don't still like the people. And
Wow.
this is something we are still seeing a lot of.
And it sucks to hear you say that, because to know that they take from us, and even
Yeah.
in comics, we just
Yeah.
kind of discussed that, how, there were things stolen from other Black characters. There was,
Mhm.
ideas being taken from Black people, and to know that this is still going on, and they don't really see it as a problem. This is
Yeah.
why this is important to talk about that history, so that way we can see how much we haven't really grown, where we need to fill in.
Yeah.
The people that are out there right now that are making headways should make more room for other content creators to
Mhm.
be able to come in and um, make staples to the world. Like, for instance, not to kind of throw it off, but if you look at Chadwick Boseman and how he
Yeah.
was inspired by, why am I going to forget that man's name? What's his name? Come on, guys. I know y'all know what I'm talking about. Oh my goodness. Oh, my point. My point is that the goal is for us to be able to continue to inspire new inspirations in the world. And we can only do that if we open up the door for big enough for everybody. And so to hear you say that United States have the ability to change the world, I can see why they don't want us to be successful. So, man, I really do appreciate you so much for coming on the channel and just giving your
Yeah.
insight. You are a beautiful soul, and I plan on connecting with you again. We are going to do this again on some more stuff. I want you to just give everybody where they could find you if they want to ask more questions, get more information. And I took a list of things down that I'm going to post in the comment section as well.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, it's just the Mighty Z. Oh, well, it's a zero, but yeah, Mighty Z zero on TikTok and also on Instagram. If you just find the TikTok, then the link to everything else will be right there on the page.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Z, for joining me tonight. And you have a great rest of your night. And I will get with you soon, okay?
Yeah, same to you. Thanks for having me on, and hope to talk to you again.
Oh, you will. You definitely will. We're going to have some stuff happening in the future for you.
All right. Peace.
Oh my gosh, guys, thank you so much for joining me for that section of just kind of going over some history, getting some information. Like I said, this is my journey into nerddom. And so there are a lot of things I don't know. So along this journey, you guys get to go along with me as I get some real great information. I'm hugely interested in learning more about Nubia and Astrid Bloom. So I'll throw some hints in there. Now we're going to have a good friend of mine, John Robinson, to come onto the show. He is going to explain to us about a few things. But first, we got to get into that comic that he's making, Scorpio. So I'm going to ask John to join me.
Hey, what's
Hey,
going on? How's it going?
good. How you doing tonight?
Doing pretty good, pretty good. Hope you're well.
Thank you. Where are you joining me from tonight?
I am in Atlanta, ATL, chilling in my office. So
Okay, now I recently saw this music video from Amaretta, and she was saying how a lot
yep.
of the cities are not Atlanta. So my question is, what part are you? South Atlanta, North Atlanta? Are you Decatur, College Park?
Right.
She
So
said you have to find them by the project zones.
okay, so I'm West Atlanta actually. So I'm
Okay.
from Lithia Springs. So the funny thing is about Amaretta. So first of all, Amaretta is a genius because doing that, she got everybody riled up. Now everybody's talking about it. People who
Yes.
never heard of her before now knows who she is. You know what I mean? So yeah, she's blowing herself. No, she's already one of the best rappers from
She
the South.
is.
She's just new and she's not super big yet. But
Yeah.
hopefully more people see her because of this. But I also gotta say, nah, man, if you're from Atlanta metro area, you're from Atlanta. So when she said College Park and Forest Park's not Atlanta, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And also, you're recording this video from Smyrna, so
That's what everybody kept saying. But I think she did it on purpose. Come on, she wouldn't be
mhm,
calling out all of these
yeah,
places because if you're really not from Atlanta, you're not gonna know where she at. You're gonna
right,
think she's in Atlanta, right? So real
right,
people that's from the A, they gonna call it out and say, "Oh,
hmm
she here is Smyrna," wherever you said it was. I ain't from there.
right,
I just lived there for
yeah.
a little while. But that's good. I'm so happy you're able to join me tonight. I do want to let everybody kind of know who you are and kind of get
hmm
familiar with some of your comics. So if you want to
hmm
discuss a little bit about Scorpio, that would be great.
Yeah. So yes, I'm John. John Robinson, aka Online Scarets. Also go by Fourth Wall in terms of my company name, Fourth Wall LLC. And yeah, I write and I write comics, mostly specifically. So I do have a comic called Scorpio, which is about these 12 zodiac signs that are attached to these relics. And each of these relics grant an ability. So you have these protectors, people who are supposed to be protecting these relics, and they each have a different ability associated with it. And they're trying to protect the world against a group of people who are coming after the relics to do some not so good things. So they're kind of fighting this secret war that we don't know about in current
Right.
times. And the story kicks off from the main character being dragged unexpectedly into this world. So yeah.
Gosh, that's a lot.
Yeah. Try to keep it succinct. Try to keep it, compressed.
It was good though, because I'm like, what happens after he's dragged into this other world?
Right. Yeah, that's what the story. That's what the story kicks off. That's like what it's mainly about. So, I mean, hopefully people go pick it up. It's at scorpiocomic.com, or you can just go to fourthwall.net. Fourth Wall is IVWALL, and then you can dive into the story and kind of see how it all works itself out.
So that is awesome. I wanted to make sure I showcase that because I thought your comic was very interesting, mostly because of the name. Do you get a lot of
Word.
people saying something in regards to the name of your comic book?
Yeah. So most people who come like from at a con or something like that, they see my banner and stuff, and I gotta say a lot of them are Scorpios, so they stop by and they go, what
Was
is
that
this?
like the selling point for you? Like, I know I'm gonna catch some
Mhm.
Scorpios.
Right. I mean, so it's like a double-edged sword. Like it's like a lot of Scorpios stop at the table, and other people do too. Um, but if you're not a Scorpio, then I think some people may think, oh, it's not really for me, because I'm a Taurus or a Libra or whatever. But the thing is, the series is called Scorpio, but it's a zodiac comic, so everybody like gets their place in that world. It's
I
only
got
called
you.
Scorpio because it comes from that the main character is a Scorpio. Yeah.
You already know I'm an Aries. So like what place do I have in there?
Yeah. So all the signs are very important. Every sign, so there's 12 of them, of course, but every one of them none of them are diminished in any way. Every one of them has an important role in the story. They're doing something that is profound. Scorpio is the main character. He's a guy named Danny. He's new to the thing. He doesn't really know what's going on in this world, but he's got like the protagonist role, right? And then you've
Got
got like Libra, who's like the leader of everything. That you got Taurus, who's the enlightened one, who sees things that other people don't see. And then you have
it.
you have Aries, who plays. I can't exactly say what Aries' role is exactly because it is very big for the story, but I can't
I like
spoil
big.
what's going on. Yeah, I can't spoil what's going on with Aries, but Aries plays definitely a very central role in this stuff. Probably, honestly, in terms of like page time as the series goes on, he probably ends up getting like more page time than some other characters or other signs might get. So yeah.
Well, I liked it because I also noticed that in your posters and also in some of your yeah, your posters and also your covers, you really kind of played on the images of each sign. And I thought it was really
Mhm.
interesting that you did that. First of all, the colors were amazing. You know, you had a lot of good of those good purples and pinks that I liked in some of them. But the thing is that I really liked how you really played on words with your comic book and how you were able to just kind of hit two demographics.
Mhm.
But I was wondering if that was something that was kind of the point.
So like one of the things that I thought was important about the series when I was first doing it or first had the idea to do it was so there's so diversity is important. I think representation is very important. And so there's two, like you say, there's two types of representation, right? At least in terms of this book. In this book, there's representations in terms of the personalities across the spectrum of personalities because you have your, the signs. People go and they go, oh well, Scorpios are like this, they're all
Yeah.
secretive and or whatever, or Virgos are all particular and
They are.
like whatever the so the Leos just be out there, just Leos are wild,
They
passionate
both.
or whatever. So they have all these different things that we ascribe to the signs that we're all very aware of. And so like it naturally kind of worked itself out in terms of character creation or character complexity, personality. Is you can kind of refer to the signs for some of these characters to an extent. And we get a broad spectrum of personalities. In addition to that, because these protectors are, the protectors of the Scorp or the zodiac relics are
Right.
from like the all over the world. You know what I mean? These are like the relics have been around for the beginning of time, whatever. So because of that, it only makes sense that the protectors themselves are, diverse. They're people from all over the world. You got white people, black people, Indian, Yemeni, Egyptian. Like there's just all these different backgrounds that are involved in the storytelling. So I mean, honestly, for me, it's a lot of cultural exploration. There's a lot of understanding and learning about other cultures that I may have not known as much about before because the book is so diverse.
Right.
So I have to do a lot of groundwork, and honestly, part of writing for me is education. Right, you educate yourself as you learn about other things that you wouldn't usually have dived into. So that's part of what the journey is for me with Scorpio.
I like that. My girl, oh so royal 89 says,
Mhm.
"What's Aquarius?" She wants to know
Oh,
if you
word. Yeah.
Aquarius.
So Aquarius. So everybody's defined. The thing is fun about this series is that there's relics that are attached to the sign. So um technically the relic can be passed from one person to another, right? So technically somebody can, if I'm a Scorpio and I have the Scorpio relic, somebody can knock this at the head, take it, and if they're a Scorpio they become the herald of the sign or whatever. But for example, for Aquarius's relic are called the Leviathan beads, and they're
Ooh,
like these
I am.
giant if you know what Akuma looks like from like Street Fighter.
Oh,
Akuma
okay.
has like the giant necklaces, like the prayer
Yeah.
beads around his neck. And I think his I can't remember I think it's Gokin, or I can't remember the guy's name. He has prayer beads as well, but it's like these giant prayer beads that are filled with like a mystical like type water or
Mm,
whatever.
yeah.
And then he wears them around his neck, and it gives them basically the ability to control air and water.
What?
So yeah, he's kind of like a half avatar. Yeah. But yeah. But
He's
again, it's
dope.
right, right,
Well, he
right.
can like literally manage two different elements. That's a lot, especially
Yeah.
air and water seems a little opposite from each other. But hey,
Right, right, right. And that's the funny thing is that Aquarius is actually an air sign.
it is.
So yeah, yeah. That's why he gets kind of both of those ability sets. But yeah.
Makes sense. Well, I heard you mention how education is important while writing. I wanted
Mhm.
to kind of go into the different styles of writing, but before we do that, I wanted to ask more about the four wall.
Yeah, yeah. So right. So okay. So Fourth Wall is the name of my solo company.
Fourth wall. Sorry,
Yeah,
fourth wall.
yeah. Oh no, you're good. You're good. Yeah, it's a little confusing because it's like the four is the Roman numeral for four. So I'm John Robinson the fourth. So the
Oh,
four, the IV in the fourth wall is also attributed to my Roman numeral. So yes, IVWALL. And it's basically what it's a platform for me to I've used it for several things over the past few years. First, I just had a blog, and I was just talking about nerdy stuff, and then it
right.
blew up, and I was like, oh, people care about like nerdy stuff. Okay, cool.
Good.
And then it kind of expanded into like it got very comic. I mean, it was mostly comic based anyway, but it got very heavily comic based. And then eventually, I started. It's now kind of transferred over to primarily an avenue for me to promote, sell my comics, or platforms for people to get my comics on, and for them to get my content in terms of podcasting.
Right.
So I do a podcast that is about writing. Um,
There we
it's
go.
called Beyond the Fourth Wall of Writing. Again, the IVWAL. It's on all major podcast hosts, and what I do is I go on there and I bring on authors, and instead of talking to these authors about their books, like I know some people I tell people, hey, I'm going to interview. Like recently I just interviewed Claudia Gray, who's a big Star Wars writer, and people are like, oh yeah, ask her some Star Wars questions about this, that, and the third. I'm like, we may, but the focus on the podcast is not to talk about Star Wars. And don't get me wrong, we do talk about it a little bit on these shows, but it's mainly to talk about how they wrote their Star Wars book, or how they
Right.
wrote, like how the technical processing behind the creation of their thing, right? So
Right.
hopefully the podcast imparts some knowledge on how to do the writing versus just talking about the writing. So that's the focus of that podcast.
Was there some really good points that you learned from her that you want to share?
Yeah, so Claudia specifically, well, so okay, so I won't focus only on Claudia, but I'll focus on like the mini guest as a whole, right?
Yeah.
So everybody tends to come on and bring a different take. I know Claudia was very big on having discipline in writing. When I brought as well as Kelly Sue. Kelly Sue was also very big on discipline in writing, and they were also very big on structure and time, like putting aside the time to do the work as opposed to just saying, oh, I'm going to do the work, but like structuring and organizing your time to do the work. We have people come on like Brian Hill, who talk very heavily on theme and being able to harness your emotions and ask a question that is profound to you, that kind of bleeds through your storytelling. Other people who are DJ Older, who's very, very big on mental health and writing. Like he's very against the write every day. Like he says, I think he said on the podcast, like that's the worst advice I ever heard. Write every day, um, because you have to balance your mental health. You're still a writer when you're not writing every single day. Now you should be writing, yes. You should be looking for a way forward, yes, but it shouldn't be a harrowing experience to write. So yeah, there's takes like that. There's a lot of talk about structure, about character building, and these people go into like extreme detail about this stuff. So the podcast turns out to be very, very. I learn things every time I do it. So honestly, it's like I'm secretly getting something out of it. I'm doing the podcast for everybody, but secretly I'm just talking to these people to get this insight.
Yes, yes,
But yeah.
yes. I completely relate. Which is kind of like tonight, I really wanted to kind of discuss a little bit about structure, a little bit about character building. Like, what should people get out of, your writing? Like, what is the goal for your customer? Like, I know everyone might be different, but the point of the whole process is for what? Where are we going with that?
Mhm.
So, I wanted to talk a little bit about structure. Do you think everyone should have a format? Is there a format out there that you can find?
Yeah, yeah. So when it comes to So it depends on your genre, right? So there's, oh, I'm sorry, your not your genre, your medium. So so the podcast is about writing as a whole, and I make sure I mention on every episode that I talk to a lot of comic writers just because I happen to be in the comic world a lot, but I talk to novelists, screenwriters as well, and story is going to be king across whatever medium you're talking about. So that's like your foundation, right? But when it comes to your structure, some people do write by the seat of their pants. They're called pantsers, writing by the seat of your pants, where they just kind of they get an idea for a story and they just start writing. But at some point, anybody who's going to create or turn this thing into something that is a full-fledged story is going to sit down and start working some structure out, right? So some things to think about in terms of structure is across all mediums, you want to figure out where you have your inciting incident. That's basically where the thing happens in your story that tips that makes your protagonist enter into a situation that they have to figure out. They have to either figure out how to get out of the situation or to cope with the situation to come to the resolution of your story, right? Then there's like obviously there's 3-act structure people could do. There's 5-act structure. There's like story beats that people could do. Like there's lists out there with 15-point story beats by Save the Cat. There's a story by Robert Jordan. I might be wrong on that name, but in any case, yeah, there's books out there that help break down story structure, character archetypes, and that sort of a thing. But at the end of the day, what you need to like to help bring everything together into I guess to keep it concise for a session like this, talking about it, is you want your characters to have a motivation, and you want them to go through a journey in which they learn something new by the end of their journey versus what they had at the beginning. So the different steps of the character journey, they're going to be learning things, and you should know, or your reader should feel that they have learned something as your character learns something by the end of the story, right? So they're going through these different trials and tribulations, these ups and downs that eventually bring them there.
That's awesome. And I like how you were able to kind of explain that a little further for me, because it helps understand how the character should be built, how it should be, and then how it should be brought back down in a way too.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, how do you explain like pacing? I know you had mentioned that to me a couple days ago, and it just
Yeah.
kind of stuck with me, because sometimes you might want to just kind of quickly get to the end, right?
uh, so for pacing specifically, so it's different across the mediums. The Screenwriter's Bible is really good because movies, you have an hour and a half. I mean, nowadays movies have more big budget ones, but like when you're writing your screenplay, you should be thinking like, all right, 90-page, hour and a half type thing. In a comic script, you have 24 pages to get through the point of that issue. Novels are a little bit more free, but not really. Like novels are they deceptively seem more free because there's a lot of pages and a lot of words, but really you should be doing something on every page. You should be doing something in every scene and every chapter. So
Yeah.
pacing wise, you need to, so without like going through like a story beat sheet, again, the best way to break down how you pace a story across any medium is that every scene needs to be developing character. Um, every scene needs to be pushing your plot forward or revealing something about the plot, um, or every scene needs to be doing some world building that again helps to assist either the character or the
Right.
plot. Now the third one is very, very important because you don't want to get into the habit of going through your story and like explaining stuff about the world that does not matter or that does not relate to the character or the plot, because
Yes.
yeah, yeah, that's where you start to get off. That's where you start to lose the reader
I
because you're
think they
talking
want to
about
really,
nothing.
they're probably trying to get people to understand their surroundings, right? You think?
Hmm. Right, and the way you do that effectively, and again, this is a lot. This comes from a lot of experience and a lot of time writing and stuff like that. The way you do your world building effectively while you're writing. There's something I talked about in one of our writers chats a few weeks ago. Did I mention our writers chat? They're every Wednesday, every Wednesday at on Twitter Spaces at 6
It's-
Eastern. But in any case, I do these writers chats, and in one of these writers chats, I talked about small scale world building. And in small scale world building, what you do is you continue the story on, like you push your story forward as you normally would through the lens of whatever character your protagonist. You know, sometimes you switch the perspective, right? But
Yeah.
through the lens of your protagonist, but you build the world as you go based on what your character understands about that world. So instead of like explaining all the trees and the entire, you know, in one shot explaining the entire society, how all the economic classes work and
That
all
would
of
be
the
me.
right, yeah. Instead of doing all that, you explain it as it comes naturally in the story. You have your situation, you have your character go through situations in the story in which they are forced to acknowledge these things, and then you can explain those things from their perspective, and then you further enhance that if you have different character point of views, because different characters may live in like you may have a character who lives in the let's say you know, he's a they're a blue collar worker or something like that. You may have another character who's like high life society, you know, opulent, you know, lives in a
Yeah.
mansion, and they have a different perspective of the world. But but the way you describe the world building through their perspective, you start to get an image of what that full world looks like without info dumping. You don't want to, if you're info dumping and you're telling and you're not showing, I'm sure you've heard that before. Show,
Yeah.
don't tell.
Yeah.
If you're telling and you're not showing, then you're going to lose your reader. You have to make it a natural release of information as
Got
you
it.
tell the story. Because remember, everything needs to be progressing story or progressing plot all the time. So that's like a compressed way of
No,
how you
that's
can
a
pace.
lot of information, and it helps with understanding how to get through one scene to the next, adding people to the scene.
Hmm.
What I notice is that sometimes um, you may not get back to the original character because you've
Hmm.
introduced another character, and
Hmm.
now you're kind of wanting to kind of further help your audience understand who that character is. Um, does that happen? Like, is that something you kind of wait until later on in other books to kind of explain? You don't want to explain everybody in one book, or how can you kind of?
So it depends on so if you're writing a so if you're writing a novel that's a compressed novel, right? You have a lot of
Yeah,
time to introduce characters. Like you can like some characters could be introduced like I would still say the first act, but like late in the first act, right? So like especially if it's an epic, like if it's something that's really big and you have a lot of characters involved, right? You
right,
can introduce characters, you know, pretty late in the first act. When I say first act, I mean like the first third of your book, right? You're
gotcha,
with setting up your story.
gotcha.
I believe in Star Wars. I'm thinking no. So in Star Wars, you do meet Han in the first act, but he's like a little bit after you. Like you meet
Right.
Obi-Wan and Luke, right? And
It's
then you meet
lit.
Han like a little bit later in the
Yeah,
first act. Um, so like that's like a simple example because a lot of people have watched Star Wars Episode 4. So like yeah. So you can introduce characters like in a novel, you can introduce characters like later in the first act. In a comic, you could definitely introduce characters like when it comes to the series,
yeah,
several issues in, right? So for
right,
example, in Scorpio, a lot of people ask, "Oh, where's Aquarius?" or "Where's
right.
and the characters that haven't shown up yet,
Yes,
and especially with something like the Zodiac, and there's already there's a default 12 characters no matter what, right?
right.
So there sometimes in a comic series, the way characters show up is going to be different than in a novel. In a novel, usually you have your main protagonist. Um, and you focus on them a lot. Or if it's an epic like Game of Thrones, then you're changing perspectives and you're coming back to them often.
Yeah,
In a comic book, you usually meet character, you have your main characters that you stick with, and you're with those characters for most of the time. But then other major characters, you meet them and you end up coming back to them. Like you'll meet them, you'll come back to them. They usually have a major story arc. And then after their major story arc, if they're not the main protagonist, you won't see them for a while until later on, or that's their only major story arc that you see. It depends. Like it's not like a hard and fast rule. That's just how comics tend to flow.
yeah.
But yeah, like in terms of like introducing characters, you can you want to do it earlier, at least in novels and movies. That and then in comics, you're a little bit more free. But yeah, it depends on like if it's a series, like an ongoing series or not.
Right. So with most comics, it's kind of too free to really say this is a structure, right? You could make
Mm.
one, you can make 50, right?
Yeah.
So with the way that you structured your your comic book, did you make it as like almost like a novel, or is it more so focused on just the free movement of
Mm.
being a comic book?
Right. So okay. So in comics specifically, you want to think of your series as so. First of all, you need to still think of your series in terms of stories, like beginning and end. Now, if it's ongoing, you're thinking of those beginning and ends in terms of arcs first. So like issues 1 through 3 or 1 through 5 or whatever of a particular comic, maybe a story arc, and then it moves on to the next part of the story, right? Even if it's an ongoing, now you still have a beginning, middle, and end, and an ongoing, like an overall arcing plot. But
Right.
there's that so that's one way to think about an ongoing. You have arcs, and then you want to make sure the beginning, middle, and end for each arc, and then a beginning, middle, and end for the entire story. But then there's also miniseries, which
Mhm.
is common in indie world, especially, is where you know this comic is going to be 6 issues, and that's it. And you have your beginning, middle, and end in those 6 issues, and you sew everything up in 6 issues. So Scorpio specifically is an ongoing, but there's definitely other series I've worked on. I've worked on one shots where it's just one issue. And I've worked on uh, stories where they're 4 issues long, and I know there's going to be like it has to end in 4 issues. So
Gotcha.
you have to pace it differently. Things have to happen faster. You don't have as much time to linger on certain things. Right. So
Gotcha. So, have you helped people with the writings for some of their books or comics before? Like, have you assisted and aided in any way?
so for the most part, I do, like I said, during I guess for the podcast, I've helped. I've also done a intro to comic writing workshop at a few cons over the past couple of years. So I have actually a workshop presentation where I talk about um like how to write comics if you're a beginner. Like if you're brand new, have no idea how to get into it. I have a whole workshop on how to do this. Like it's like an hour and a half, 2 hours or something like that. So I've done that. And then also, in addition to comic writing, I'm pretty new into it still, but I've begun editing. So I actually edit a comic called Legends of the Realms right now,
Okay.
so yeah. So based on my comic writing experience, I'm able to apply that and editing skills. Editing is not the same as writing, right? So just because you're a writer, you're not automatically qualified to be an editor. You're more likely to be qualified, but there are definitely a set of skills that you should learn in the editing process itself, um, in terms of helping others out. So but yeah, I've been editing for Legends of the Realm, and may have some other editing gigs coming up soon. But
Okay.
yeah, that's kind of like my contribution other than the writer's chats. I always tell people in the writer's chats, I'm facilitating, I'm not teaching, I'm facilitating a chat because I'm learning, like, we're always learning like everybody else. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
That is pretty awesome. I really do appreciate you coming on here and giving some of your expertise, letting us know how some ideas can work if you're trying to write, and understanding the different styles between, writing a novel or even writing a comic book,
Mhm.
and how, you would be able to structure those differently. So that's some
Yeah.
really great information. And I'm really kind of excited to know that there are more series coming out for Scorpio, because I need to know about the Aries.
Yeah.
And my
Oh yeah.
girlfriend already hit me up. She like, "Girl, I need to know about the Aquarius." So,
Right. Yep. Yeah.
I'm really
I know
gonna
for
be
sure.
excited.
I know for sure Aries shows up in 4, and Aquarius has a cameo either in 4 or 5. So yeah, they get introduced. It starts to roll as it's still early, there's only a few issues in. So they'll
Yeah,
start to show up more often sooner.
that keeps the anticipation, and that keeps people waiting for their sign to come out
Yep.
or making an appearance, right?
Right. Yeah, some of them just make cameos. I think in 2, Capricorn just made a cameo. Didn't really do much, but she was there.
So far in your books, how many zodiac signs have you revealed?
So on page we have seen so Scorpio is the guy who doesn't know what he's doing yet. And then there's Naomi, who's the other Scorpio who does know what she's doing, and
Right.
she's trying to get the relic from him. So you have Scorpio, Libra, who is the leader, and Capricorn. So in the first 2 issues, those three have been revealed. Now
Oh,
in issue 3, people know already that you're gonna see Taurus, and you meet Virgo in issue 3. So far there's 5 of them total that
Yeah.
Like as of when 3, because 3's coming out very, very soon. When 3 comes out, there will be 5 that we've seen total.
Well, I see you really pacing it. That's like 5 within 3. I would have
Mhm.
been like 6 and 1.
Yeah. I want to give them all a profound entrance. You know what I mean? So they have to
Like
give
that.
them the even Capricorn's little cameo in 2. It's not like a big splash. She shows up, but it's very like an elusive thing. Like they mention her and she's over there, and they're kind of like, "Huh, who is that?" You know.
Right.
So like I want to make sure that everybody gets an intro that is that helps give their gravitas. You know.
Yes. A question about the relics.
Mhm.
Are these physical relics or are these spiritual relics?
Oh, okay. So they're physical in terms that you can touch them. Well, most of them you can touch. It depends on the sign. So I can tell you, for example, Sagittarius can't actually touch hers because hers is exists in a gaseous form.
Ooh,
So there's the relics are different for most of them are, you can hold it in your hand, but some of them are a little bit different like hers.
I see you kind of like making sure you're giving the elemental aspects to these
Oh yeah.
relics. Yeah.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
thinking the whole time they're like some kind of stone until you told me about the necklace beads. And I was like, okay,
Hmm.
it's not
Yep.
just stone.
All of them are different. All of them are different. Capricorns is always hidden on her person, kind of, because Capricorns is called the witch's sash, but the
Ooh,
witch's sash could be any piece of clothing. So it can change. You don't know what it is. You know.
wow, it's a shape shifting relic.
Yeah. So she's not shape shifting, but the relic itself is can. So it changes her appearance and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. But she's still her. She just her
Hmm.
clothes, right?
Yeah. She can
Not
change.
like her
It's
whole face. She can go from like blonde, blue eyes to black, brown.
right. Yeah. It's a vague representation of the idea that Capricorns, change their skin to change their clothes. It's like a part of that vague idea.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So if anybody wanted to be able to check out Scorpio, how would they be able to find that specifically to purchase your books? Because I know you
Where
three's coming out, right?
Yeah. So if you're going specifically to find Scorpio, you can just go to scorpiocomic.com. It's also on fourthwall.net, but scorpiocomic.com is just a domain that pushes you to where that area on fourthwall.net. But yeah, scorpiocomic.com, and it'll take you right to the front page. You'll see how to get to it. It's very easy. There's a shop button right at the top if you're trying to get straight to the comic. But yeah, it's easy to find there. And then if you're trying to contact me directly, I have like Facebook. I think it's facebook.com/Scorpio
Mhm.
comic. And then on Twitter, I am fourth wall or just at fourth wall. And on Instagram, somebody has fourth wall. Somebody
Whoa,
who's inactive.
wow!
Somebody who is
Woo!
inactive and like has like 4 followers is sitting on my on my
You know your name.
yeah. So but no, I have Ed Scarrett's on uh Instagram, so you can still find me there.
Can you spell spirits for them?
Yeah, it's SCERITZ.
Okay. And then how would it be showing up for fourth on Twitter?
Say again. Oh, you broke up for
For
a
a
second.
fourth wall, how is
Mhm.
that showing up on the
Oh
socials?
yeah. So yeah. So fourth wall is at IVWALL. Um, and also if you search Scarrett's, you'll see that on Twitter as well. You'll find it. Honestly, if you search fourth wall, you'll probably find me on Instagram as well because it's like
Okay.
it's in my description. So yeah.
And you kind of brought this in later on, but I'm very highly interested in this writer's chat. Just kind of give us some information on where
Mhm.
we can find that and what time.
Yeah, so Writer's Chat is every Wednesday at 6 Eastern Standard Time. It's held via Twitter Spaces. If you don't use Twitter that much, it's okay. If you have an old account, just sign in and click the link. You don't have to like be active on Twitter to use it. It's just an easy way to get access to the chat. If you don't have a Twitter, you can just make a quick account. It takes like 2 minutes. And then you can join the chat that way. But during the chats, I bring in a writing topic, and then I ask questions to facilitate that topic, and it's a very interactive thing. So the chats usually go I mean, they've been going on a minute because people have been very interactive. It revolves around people being interactive and answering the questions. Now, there's some days where I get in there and there's only a couple people at the very beginning, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna go quick because I ask questions and nobody answers. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm just gonna answer all these questions and then we're gonna be out here in 10 minutes. But it never actually happens like that. It's usually, or not usually, every time. Even if there's only a few people at the beginning, like 3 people, eventually it blows up to like, I don't know, like a couple of dozen, even sometimes. I mean, there's been like even double that sometimes, and it gets pretty expansive. And the conversations are usually pretty valuable. So
And they
yeah,
really
if you
kind of like jump in there and have those conversations. Like, does it get heated at all?
never heated, no.
Okay.
I mean, there's always trolls. Every once in a while, there's a troll that comes in there and says something silly that they're just
Right.
obviously being a troll. I just kick them out. But no, there's never anything heated amongst the people who are actually there to talk about writing. There's maybe
Okay.
some slight debates on some
Right.
things like
That's
writing
kind of what I was
processes.
leaning towards, like the
Yeah,
debates.
sometimes a little bit, but most of the time it's like people absorbing like people's viewpoints on a certain writing topic and kind of seeing if they can apply that to their own process.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. And you've been running this writers chat for how long now?
So wow. So the first time I did it was like 4 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah, maybe 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, and then I stopped for a while in the middle.
Okay.
I was doing it on Discord at first. I brought
Oh,
it back last year, and I brought it back via Twitter Spaces last year. So the Twitter Spaces is way easier than Discord. Discord, the first like 30 minutes of the chat was me trying to help people get signed into their Discord. So I was like, all right, you need an easier way to do this.
I
Yeah,
can only imagine because I remember when I first got on Discord, I'm not IT. I was all over the
right.
place.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, Twitter Spaces is very easy. It's very much just click. I will note on Twitter Spaces, be on your phone. It's very phone based. If you want to participate, be on your phone. You
Be
can
on your
listen
phone.
on the computer, but you cannot talk on the computer yet.
Oh,
They should add that feature, but right now it's mobile based. So
okay. Well, thank you so much, John. I have absolutely enjoyed your commentary tonight as far as on writing. These things
mhm,
are a curiosity of mine. I am
mhm,
looking to kind of make something out of, as you see, Black Girl's Nerdy World. She is a samurai, and writing is something I've been considering to do to kind of bring her to life a little bit. But having
nice.
that information kind of helps me direct some of my attention. But what's really important is that I can listen into some of this writer's chat and really dig in on, some of the cue points that they're giving us. So I really
Right. Yeah.
appreciate you taking the time out and, letting me know again one more time if they can find you on Facebook.
Yeah, yeah. So on Facebook is facebook.com/Scorpio comic. On Instagram, it's Scaritz, which is SCERITZ.
Right. Well, thank you so much. You have a great rest of your night. And
All right,
I'm going to
yeah.
be connecting with you shortly because I need to get a couple of those volumes of, Scorpio because follow until I get to Aries.
Word, word. Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And thanks for having me on. Yeah. Since it is Tuesday now, Writer Chat will be tomorrow, Wednesday at 6. So if anybody wants to come in, hop in.
At 6 o'clock, right?
Right. Yep. 6 Eastern. Yep.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Peace.
Bye. Well, guys, as you can tell, I just had the amazing John Robertson on the show. He is pretty awesome, right? My goal with that was to really just kind of get you guys immersed in what to do if you're looking to write. I know I'm looking to expand my logo a little bit more into an actual character that you guys can kind of get behind. So that kind of was the goal in mind. I do have another guest that's going to be coming on in a few minutes, but I wanted to just kind of take the moment to just say thank you guys for who's been, riding with me since we started an hour and a half ago. You guys are rocking with me, and I appreciate you. I don't have my list because everything was like super fast. But what I can do, because I want to say thank you to a lot of people who went and just, hold on, I was my next guest. Sorry, guys. But I want to say thank you to all of you guys for seriously being there and, supporting me. I want to support you, so feel free to let me know what you might have going on. And I just really feel like this is the time, it's the time. And let me see what I meant to do. He'll be on in 2 minutes, which is exactly on time. I want to go to my YouTube and I want to go to all my subscribers and I want to name out my subscribers because you guys are super awesome. And if you didn't know, I put another video out on my YouTube, so you guys don't have to say like, oh, it's not nothing on there. So I want to say, first of all, I want to say thank you to Brandy Babowski. I love you, boo. I appreciate you. I want to say thank you to Chemistry Maestro. You already know what it is. You know what it is. Good music right there. My boy Franklin Creed, you was dope. I really appreciate you because you hit me up and was like, I don't think you can go live on YouTube with 50 subscribers. I was like, nah, I read it I read it. It says at least 50. And it wasn't 50. At least I can't go mobily with 50 subscribers. I can do it on here, but I have to wait 24 hours. So that's like sucks. So I want to say thank you, Franklin, because he also sent me a bunch of links for how to kind of get Restream working. So thank you. I want to say thank you to Brandon Morris. You rock. I want to say thank you to Royal Scott. You rock. I want to say thank you to DeAndre Waters Sr. You rock. I want to say thank you so much to Damon Arterbridge. You rock. I want to say thank you to Melissa, my dad's wife, my little sisters, Amber and Trinity, and my dad. Thank you. My mom, Wendy Clardy. She was like the first to subscribe. I was like, Mom, I knew you was going to subscribe. I love you so much. I want to say thank you to Robbie Rob. I want to say thank you to C. Matt Barr. Appreciate you, brother. You is so sweet. I want to say thank you to Sean Lyrique Matthews. He goes by @Lyrique on Instagram. Incredible music artist. Just ridiculously great songwriter. I want to say thank you to Danny. Whoop, whoop. Thank you, Danny. Danny Cooper. You're the best. Thank you. I want to say thank you to Samara. I love you so much. I want to say thank you to my boo-boo, Tyshina. I want to say thank you to what's up, Lamar Robinson Austin. Thank you. I want to say thank you. Kavana, I want to say thank you. Nikki Lee, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to Henry Thomas, Mr. Maurice Dwayne Smith. Man, me and him been rocking for a while. All right, my guest is here, but I'll be back with more thank yous. I mean, I literally had 8 subscribers on my YouTube, and I got 60 in less than 8 hours. Y'all rock, like. But get me to them 1,000. I need 1,000. That's what's good. So moving forward, I'm going to introduce you guys to Irani. But before he comes on, I want to give you a little bit of glimpse on his comic. He's kind of like, I'm just impressed by this gentleman, and I got some super great news to tell him. But he is just amazing with the cultural, traditional comic book that he is sharing with us. Like, I have a little bit of African and Caribbean pride to it, and he's making some moves. So here is his video clip, and I want you guys to check out Bo Saga. My gosh, that
Awesome.
was incredible. Hi, Ronnie, how are you?
I'm doing great. And you, Monolith?
I'm doing wonderful. As you can tell, I got a little spiffed up for tonight.
Nice, nice. That's awesome.
If you guys don't know, I did an interview with him a few hours ago just to kind of introduce him to you guys. Wanted to kind of share his story. I connected with him on Virtuous Con, and I thought it was like amazing what he was doing for the culture of Black, what he's bringing to the table as far as like Caribbean, traditional African, just giving you that whole creation in a comic book, and it's called Bold Saga. I'd like for you to introduce it a little bit more to everyone as far as what Bold stands for and what it's about.
Awesome. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Monolith. Hey, kings and queens, I'm Warnie Hughes, the CEO of Great Gale and the mangaka for Afrofuturism manga Bold Saga, a story that empowers our young kings and queens to seize greatness. And what I love about this story, more than just the action, more than just all of the deep cultural representation, is this right here, the acronym for BOLD. It stands for Brave Onwards, Limit Destroyer. So this is literally a story for underdogs rising. That's a universal story. No matter what you're going through, be brave in the midst of the problems. Move onwards. Find out the limit that's in your way and overcome it. Destroy it and live your best life.
I love it, and that's what's really incredible about your content. Like, you really push people forward from the inner to the outer, and it shows that it'll eventually be rewarded. And I love the story. I purchased a couple copies from him and absolutely love it. I got the digital copy so that I could read it with my daughter. I got through the first chapter. I really enjoyed it. I really felt engrossed in this young man. Could you say his name for me?
Oh, Masego.
Masego. I didn't want to mess it up. So Masego, this young youth who's actually trying to, he's really just kind of like struggling between the idea of going for what he desires and what he wants, but not being good at it, but still believe that he's supposed to do good with doing it, and having to deal with the realities of, if you don't make it, you gotta pretty much work. You gotta go do what you don't want to do. And I know you guys can relate to that, right? I mean, think about it. How many times that you like, if I could just live my dream, I would be happy, right? But how many of us actually work hard every day to go after that dream? And I love how it kind of pushes you to believe that even though it looks like it's not going to happen, or maybe you missed the boat on it, that doesn't mean that God doesn't have a blessing for you around the corner. And I felt like, his journey of just conceding and going into like, okay, I gotta work because I failed again for the 5th time, really, brought him where he needed to be in that moment in time. And I was really impressed by it. It's very spiritual. I feel like it's spiritual. I feel like you definitely bring a lot of the vibe of, the African culture. My curiosity is, what are some of the countries that inspired this location in your book?
Awesome. Well, one of the countries that inspired it really was South Africa, and doing the cultural representation of that. I loved learning about Xhosa, Khoi, Zulu, all the different African cultures, because generally everyone's heard of Egypt. That's generally talked about. Yes, you hear about the Dahomey Amazons, but no one really talks about Mutapa Empire, the Rosary Empire, all these other empires that are also part of Africa that are really incredible too, just like the Axumites as well. So I wanted to base it off of that. So those are some of the countries. I'm Caribbean, so there's Caribbean representation in this story, which I'm so excited. You'll be seeing it in chapters 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. But literally, this is what separates Bold Saga from so many other stories out there. They'll have African representation, but just of the 54 countries. You hardly see the diaspora. You hardly see a story that's connected, like a tether throughout all of it. And this is what the story is about. Like Melissa Kimball said, Black creativity pushes everything forward. Literally, without that, you can't go anywhere. So I'm just excited to just showcase us in our most authentic, dope light.
That is amazing. What are some other countries you plan on showcasing in the future comics that you're looking to release?
Okay, well, other countries as in references within Bold Saga, because everything in Bold Saga is not the actual name. Like Awazela is not an actual place, but it's referenced off of the Mutapa Empire. I want to put more Caribbean representation, you know,
Got
Jamaica,
it.
Haiti, Antigua, Barbuda, Barbados, you know, the United States, you know, hip hop, all that type of stuff. Even, you know, Europe as well, the UK, Melanesia. Basically, I want even the Ainu. There's so much out there because literally Black people are all across the world, and it's so amazing to find a story that celebrates that in different parts, not just
Yeah.
Nisego, who's Black or African in Japan, but literally in his own area. And another reason why I called the kingdom and the empire that it's from Awazela is the three first letters. I want everyone that's reading the story to see this is what African culture is. AWE. It's all. It's awesome. It's going to leave you in awe when you literally read about how incredible the accomplishments that we've made as a people throughout life, throughout time. It's fantastic.
I love it. And that's why I was so drawn to it. And that's why I wanted to be able to showcase you tonight, because I think that it's important to know that it's more than just the storms that are in these type of, comics. You have tradition that we don't really know much about. And what I liked is that you go into the spiritual and the religious aspects of these this culture. If you want to explain a little bit about that.
No problem, no problem. Well, one of the aspects when you talk about the religious component of Bold Saga, right on the cover, is angels. Literally, there's a black angel on the cover. Yes, we've seen all of the white angels and all these other stuff, but when you really get down to it, faith and Christianity is literally sedimentary to African culture. The Bible literally starts in Africa. So why not showcase that throughout the story? There's that. That's such an aspect that I wanted to showcase. The faith that he had in himself, in a higher power, which is God. Like just knowing that you don't have to do it all alone. It's a force multiplier when you have someone else or something else that you can rely on to give you that push, that second wind to keep going, to keep moving forward, no matter. And you've read chapter 1, so you know what I'm talking about. No matter what life throws at you, if you
Yeah.
have that energy from within, that energy from God, from the Creator, to keep pushing you forward, man, impossible is nothing, like Muhammad Ali said. Impossible is nothing.
No, I agree with you. And I feel like I definitely can connect with that, because I have like a very strong will inside of me myself. And I was told something earlier last week that if you pray, don't worry. If you worry, don't pray. Meaning that you can easily counteract some of the blessings for yourself when you worry about it not happening. Like what I noticed in here is that one thing stayed intact, which was his true north. He knew that this is what he wanted to do. And because of that, he was able to gain an ability that no one else had the heart or the courage or anything to gain. And I feel like that came after he failed 5 times, and he failed the very last time, which means he couldn't go back again. So the point is that yes, there is a lesson to be learned in failure, as there are lessons to be learned in success. And I feel like this really puts you in a place to where you can start understanding and respecting the L's that you make out here, because those really start building you up to be that character that's needed for that time that you need to be that character.
That is
Um,
true.
so I love that. And what I wanted to ask, because being a content creator, people don't really get to understand the aspects of some of the struggles that you go through, in the beginning stages of getting this, you getting your content together, trying to be, independent. You're still short stocked because you don't have funding. Tell me what your beginning was getting this amazing comic manga together.
Awesome. Well, to let you know, literally, just like Masego went through challenges, I did. And that's why I wrote the story that way. I have failed so many times in the creation of Bold Saga. It is fantastic that I even have physical chapters in my hand. Let's see. Right when I started Bold Saga, I went through like a really serious issue, like business wise, that threw me off. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do the video game anymore. Like, I feel like quitting. I was like, wait, what if I went back? That's how I ended up going back. It was the failure that reminded me that I should go back to manga. You know, I took Black Sands 90-day book challenge, and then through that, I failed the 90-day book challenge. Bold Saga took 2 years for the first chapter to release. Just trying to release it, COVID hit. My grandfather passed away. I had to be the graphic designer for his funeral, so I'm like doing all of his banners, all of the booklets. I'm going through mental turmoil, but I'm still working on Bold Saga. I'm like, I finally finish it. I finished it after Juneteenth, so that's another L. I'm like, okay, now I can finally get it out there. And then you know what happens? It takes me 24 times to get chapter 1 done because I failed KDP, which is Amazon's print on demand, their setup. I just kept failing, and then when Bold Saga finally starts to sell, another company has applied for the same trademark for Bold Saga, so they're trying to take over the name. You know, it's so many else. And on top of that, people don't even understand what Afrofuturism is, and they're getting into stories that are already successful out there or things that are typical, you know. And then when I try and educate the community about they're disrespecting you in manga, like Usopp, Killer Bee, Sister Crone, and then giving people the actual context of this is why, because of gollywog, minstrelsy. They're not insulting you directly to your face. It's an underhanded or overt or covert disrespect, like how they have Hypnosis Mic, an anime about hip hop with no black people in it, or
Right.
how they have, right? I'm telling you, it's the first episode. There's no black people. Then you have Terraform Mars, where they send cockroaches into outer space, and then the cockroaches transform Mars and they end up looking like black people, holding a gun sideways, overly brutish, ripping people's heads off and running like a basketball. Even in the new standalone complex, there's this black guy who has locks. He looks mad cool. The first name that they call him is Clown. This is disrespect. They even hung Usopp in One Piece. So this is the disrespect that they throw in throughout the series over time. And there's so much to be said, but that's why I had to make this, because no matter how many L's I took, no matter how many failures I encountered, no matter how much obscurity I'm in, I refuse to give up, because a dream is worth fighting for. A dream is worth living for. Your purpose is worth going after, no matter how many problems, no matter how many issues you have. You know, even Langston Hughes said, hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. It's time to take flight. And this is why you need to create your stories, create your dreams, and live your purpose. Because if you don't, you'll just be following someone else who's doing that for themselves.
Wow. I mean, I think that's an incredible feat to show that, hey, this is what I was dealing with. I was dealing with the death of my grandfather. And on top of that, they had me doing all of his promotional material. Like that had to have been hard for you to see the one man, because you told me you were very close with him. You talked to him practically every day. And so to know that this is kind of like what you had to do and more, and trying to create this incredible body work of art, it's like you needed to go through this to even understand the magnitude of where it's going. A lot of people need to see that and hear that about uh their own purposes in life. Like, you have to go through these things in order to be a light. So yeah, it's going to be hard. Yeah, it's going to be a struggle. Like, I am not an IT person, but for some reason this show is going. If there's a will, there's a way, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I was not moving another day, and I felt like 222 to 22 was a great day, and I just wanted to, let you guys know it's kind of it's hard. I wanted to ask you more about the expenses. Like, what did you notice that if you could have changed, or what you noticed that you have did probably didn't work and it was kind of costly, just kind of like printing, some of the things of getting started. Like you said, you were trying to do stuff with KDP and it really wasn't working. That was that a cost out of your pocket? Other people that can help you, are those things that are cost out of your pockets?
Mm-hmm.
Some of the expenses that you encountered, creating this masterpiece.
It has been very expensive, and generally, just like with business, your first 5 years are generally when people are getting to know you. That's the most expensive. It's like pushing the ball up the hill. Once it gets to the top of the hill, then it just goes down and moves on. But pushing it up, there have been so many expenses. Literally, it's crazy. Like the cost of the actual programs I use to do all of this, like it's amazing, but it's so costly. Like, oh my gosh, Clip Studio Paint, Affinity Designer, Affinity Publisher. Some programs I use are free software like DaVinci Resolve, but other ones I've had to pay for. It's been very expensive, but it's been also worth it because I believe in getting the best software for the best solutions. And yes, even if it's expensive, I just bought a new application. And yes, it was way over the budget that I had. But let me tell you, it has exceptionally pushed forward what is possible. I just have to understand how to use it. But once I do, once I
Yes.
figure how it works, that's the thing. Sometimes you have to be able to live risky. You know, like even Bishop Jakes had mentioned it. Sometimes you have to risk looking foolish to people to be able to win. It's the only way, because going out on a limb to places, once you see literally what is possible with Bold Saga, yes, 1 and 2 are amazing, but where the story is going, remember, it's Afrofuturism. So there will always be a technical, mechanical aspect to it, like when Masego is on that actual vehicle. So
Yeah.
there's aspects of that. There's a cinematic component to it. So I had to actually study cinema, study
Right.
animation, study how all these work. So the story's multi-leveled. There's been the cost of actually learning it. I traditionally studied to be an artist, but throughout the last 4 to 5 years, I got back into writing. I've
Okay.
had to do my own marketing, so I've had to study how to do marketing. I'm a graphic designer for 12 years, so I know that, but understanding how to do publishing, all of that has been costing hundreds up to thousands of dollars. But it's been worth it because everything that I've gotten has been very helpful, from like an ergonomic mouse, so you don't end up with carpal tunnel syndrome from all the clicking, to a standing table that can actually move and lift, so you don't end up with back pain like the creators of Clamp, because they stood over their table drawing for years. I don't want that. I will invest into things today, and yes, it may be stressful and financially aggravating at times, but it's worth it because the long-term benefit is I know these things, I can use these things, and I've taught myself. Because when they ask a black millionaire and billionaire, how do you keep your money? How do you get successful with a business? He said, own every aspect of what you're doing. Own everything. Make sure you comprehend the entire thing, cover to cover. Once you understand that, then you'll be able to make money. And that's why I've been able to move as I've done with Bold Saga. It may seem slow to other people, but sometimes slow is the fastest route, because I understand how to do the entire story. I can hire people, and that's great, but cover to cover, I have the knowledge of making the actual book, the writing, the art, the self-publishing, the marketing, and the ideas. So it doesn't matter. I could hire an artist, but God forbid if something happens. But these are all opportunity costs. Yes, I could get it faster, but am I being as successful as I could be? Strategy and tactics is really where it's at. The strategy is learn everything, master, expedite, and move on. The tactic is now let's put it into play. Let's get the word out there. Let's show them what hip hop looks like in manga. And just wait for that. Ooh! You would think Bolt Saga is dope now. Wait till the hip hop comes through. Because we're tired of Killer B. I'm going to just be honest with you. It's time to see some dope black hip hop and manga.
I'm excited about this. Like, I mean, your energy is definitely transcending. I'm definitely excited. I do have chapter 2. I'm not trying to read it right now because I want to feel the actual book in my hand. I want to wiggle it and all of that. Like, I'm a huge collector, so I get into, wanting to have the physical aspect of it. But I needed the digital so that way I could like kind of start, Once I did, I was like, oh, this is good. Was that a ghost? Like, yeah, there's a ghost in there, guys.
Right? That was a good question, because like after everything he went through, he literally was like, "Oh my gosh, was that a good? Oh, I feel like." But then he realized, and this is why I love this story too, because like you get that whole family component. And also, Royal, thank you, respect. Thank you for the comments. I appreciate it. But literally, on top of everything, he had the black family component. And I love to see that, because how many mangakas have families that their parents are in their life? You can look at Tanjiro, Luffy, Naruto. Ichigo has a dad, but his mom's on his life. How many people have a full family component? You need to see these types of things to see a whole person, to see everything that they can go through. You need to have things like how it's a village to raise a child, all of it, man. But the ghost aspect, I thought it was over for him. That's the good thing about writing stories. Like there was a part in chapter 2, I shed a tear. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is. But then I was like, oh my gosh, this is. You'll see when you see it.
Oh, that's exciting. No, I definitely feel it. I definitely feel it. Cause like I like how it started off. It showed the family knit. It showed the mom being loving. It showed the father being stern in reality. It showed even his connection with Shani, and how he was open enough to explain to her some of the processes. Now, did he mention that he failed many times? Okay, maybe he said a few things, but the goal was for her to understand the pride that he had with his tradition and with his culture. Like this was something that was in him. It wasn't on him. So, guys, I want y'all to know I did meet Irani at the Virtuous Con, and I wanted to ask you, did Virtuous Con send you something?
Yes, they did. It was crazy,
Enter into a
man. Like,
contest or something?
yes. Oh my gosh. Honestly, Mahan, I entered them like, you know what? I'm going to enter. Let me just try it out. Because I already have a Wacom. I don't need another one. I was like, I love video games. Like literally, video games was what I was doing before making Bold Saga. The developer, I love that stuff. But I entered because I'm like, yeah, let me just enter and see what happens. And then I'm talking to someone else at the event, and then one of the administrator comes through, Cerise, and she's like, you should go to the video game streaming one. They're having a panel right now. Like, okay, fine. I'm not gonna tell you no. You're the person who owns the event. It has to be a reason. So I'm listening to the event. I'm there, and then they're like, and now they're talking about everything, and they're like, now we're gonna talk about who won the streaming setup, and I'm like, Fear came into my mind immediately. Like, man, you ain't gonna win. You never win. Nah, man, stop hoping, man. It's not gonna happen. I don't know when they say great girl, right? I got like, I was like, I won. And not just that, for streaming, bro, this is crazy because I've been playing Tales of Arise for the last 2 months, and I was like, as soon as I get the chance, I'm gonna save up and get streaming content and the hookups so I can let everyone know that I'm into gaming and stream it. So literally, all this is confirmation, man. Like, it's crazy.
So I told you I wanted to give you a surprise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had some surprising news. I actually got the grand prize winnings at the Virtuous Con. They sent me an email like a day ago, like, congratulations, you're the grand prize winner. And I'm like, what?
What?
I couldn't believe it. So I want to tell you guys, based off of you winning and I winning, we both had that same mindset. I was like, I didn't even remember that I entered myself into the contest. Guys, enter yourself into a contest. You never know. You might just win. Truthfully, I had no idea that I would even be considered, since it was my first time going. And I was just really excited. I was hopping around in Virtuous Con. It was kind of fun because I could do it from my home. And I liked that aspect of getting around, not having to walk, not having to pay money for food. I can go straight to go get something to drink out my refrigerator. I could pause. I could take off my clothes and hang out. Like, it was perfect. I like the virtual experience, but I had no idea. I literally emailed her back. It was Teresi. I was like, how did I win the grand prize? Oh, how did this happen? And then when I saw your post on YouTube that I absolutely enjoyed, and all the amazing gifts that they got you, I was like, I did enter into a contest. I didn't even remember. I was like, ain't nothing else to do. I'm gonna go ahead and just enter right on in. And I won the grand prize. They got my size today for a shirt. So I'm curious. I think I'm getting like a whole package of a lot of different people's stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, so much content for this show.
That is awesome.
Yes.
Congratulations.
I wanted to tell you that because I saw yours and I was like, oh, I gotta tell him. But I wanted to tell you on live to get your blind reaction.
That is awesome. This is why I love going to Virtuous Con, because you just never know what's going to happen, from the amazing panels to the amazing surprises and gifts and winning. Look, it's just the place to be, man. I've been there 4 times. I'm trying to be there every time. Every time they have a virtual, I want to say I'm like, let's go. Let's go.
Oh no, it was great. I enjoyed all the different floors. Being able to click through the floors was so easy. You know, I ain't technical, so I was like, long as I can click into somebody's booth and click on out. I was in there. I was hopping around everywhere. And at the end, I was really curious to get a lot of people's opinions about what they thought of the Virtuous Con, including yours. And a lot of people really enjoyed it. They liked the interaction. I was worried. I was not worried, but I was really, for the first time going to a Virtuous Con, I was curious to know how the interaction would be. But it was just like a regular like Zoom that you would be in a meeting. You're there at a table and it pops up all these little boxes and you're actually having a dialogue from people's living rooms, and it's perfect and convenient, and people are themselves. And and that's something I want this show to be about, is for people to be their authentic selves, goofy, quirky, whatever it is, and I want to showcase amazing work like you, such as yourself, such as John from earlier, and of course Z. It was so funny that she was mentioning about anything regarding how blacks are being treated in mangas and how they're being treated in comics across the world. And it's just kind of interesting because Z even mentions that, on how there are a lot of snubs against black content, black superheroes, black creators. They don't like to give us any shine, and I feel like the ones that are out there, such as yourself, making moves, the ones that are making even bigger moves, should make room for more black content. Because Z said something that kind of just struck me. It was that if we're affecting the world here in the United States, everything we do here, they mimic out there. They don't care if it's right or wrong. If that's what's being propagandized, then that's what they're going to pick up on. And we need to be able to have these type of opportunities. And with us being an information era where we can actually pick up a phone or turn on an internet and be able to watch YouTube and see things like this gives us those platforms to continue on our march towards greatness, because we can't let that light go. We've got to start making a step and being that stepping stone for the future kids, for us coming into they need to see us more than just in our homes or as thugs. They need to see us as more like an angel, like how you have it on there, or somebody who's got full body figure. And I think it's important for people to understand that black is important. With this being Black History Month, we need to really see how important it is for us to make our staple in this world, instead of allowing these companies to continue to push their narratives on what they should see black as. We should make that content. So that's why I was so proud and honored to have you on a show tonight, to showcase what you have to offer to the world with tradition and culture and just being black. Like, it's amazing, and it comes from within. So if you could please give everybody like your Instagram, your Facebook, where we'd be able to, check you out, check out some of your content. You also sell shirts. I really wanted that shirt tonight. I really did, but
it's being fulfilled right now.
Say what?
It's being fulfilled right now. I'm sorry, I cut you off. It's being fulfilled right now.
Okay. No,
I'm
excited.
Sorry, I cut you off. Continue.
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to let you know your book is in the mail, chapter 1, so it's on its way. Just wanted to let you know.
I got a book. That's exciting. Well, thank you. If you would go ahead and just give them your socials, so they'll be able to get to you.
Definitely. So if you want to continue our journey and follow along with everything Great Gale, follow us at Great Gale Co. We're on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Fanbase, and We Kinfolk, again at GreatGaleco. So we're there. You can find us out. And I want to let you know that just like we were talking earlier about prizes and surprises, there's something else that I was working on as well. Since it is Black History Month, and it is also 2222, once in a millennium time, I created something that I'm finally able to re-release, because I had a lot of other things to finish beforehand. The Manga Out the Mud course is live again. Finally, oh my gosh. And what is that? If you are watching this, what is Manga Out the Mud? Well, Manga Out the Mud is the actual strategy of how I made Bold Saga, how I actually went from the ideas to the actual finished product. And this Black History Month, you can learn how to make your own manga series. Literally, manga is one of the highest selling form of comics. Nowadays, it's outselling American comics. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Pokemon is based off of manga and anime styles worth 92 billion. Wouldn't it be great to see your story there? Wouldn't it be great to actually hold your own manga series? If you're tired of how they represent you, if you just want to make your own story, this is the course for you, because we'll be talking about how to do graphic design, how to do writing, screenwriting, making merchandise, marketing, cover to cover, and actually selling your product. This is the strategy of how I was able to relate and get in touch with Black Sands Entertainment and be on their app because of these strategies that we go over in this course. Over $20,000 worth of value for just $2.99. So if you go to Instagram.com and you can just go to the link in bio, you will see it there. Or if you do payhip.com/Great Gale Co. or Great Gale, you'll be able to see all of it, because the Manga Out the Mud course literally is how you can take your dreams from the mud to actually holding it in your hand. I look forward to seeing you there.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I definitely need to jump on that. $2.99? That's some fries from McDonald's. Okay.
$299.
Oh, 200. I'm sorry.
Yes, not $2.99. No. That
I
would
said
be impossible.
$2.99.
I'm like, this price for
you.
$299? What is on them? Is it gold?
I love it. So $2.99 is still a great deal, especially since you're giving them over $2,000 worth of pretty much education and direction. You kind of already laid the path. So that's amazing. And you said you can find that on PayHip?
Payhip, payhip.com/Great Gale. So you'll be able to find that there, or you can just go to the Instagram link in bio, and it'll be the first link at the top. Because it's time to show our young kings and queens that they can make their own series. Once I found out the strategies of how to do it, I was like, look, man, someone else has got to know this too, because knowledge is supposed to be shared. Like, those who learn teach. And like Melissa Kimball said, this culture, this world does not move without Black creativity. Well, now it's time to learn and teach our young kings and queens how to literally activate their Black creativity. This is how I was able to get a Kickstarter funded on my first time. So it's like, I'm not just talking, like, I actually have success in these endeavors, and I want to help everyone watching to make their own, because this world is better. Like Jordan Peele said, story is the greatest catalyst for change. Not just the art, not just the talking, story. That's what this is all about. Even the way how they speak in Bold Saga. You see what I'm talking about. They'll go from AAVE to Xhosa to Zulu Khoi to just all the different languages out there. Because how we speak, to how we talk, to how we vibe. We are a vibe. We are just dope, period. So
Yes.
It's time to celebrate that. And that's what this is all about.
Thank you so much, Irani. I have had such a pleasure having you on tonight. And again, guys, I will have all of these links in the description. So if you're looking forward to seeing some more of his content, please just look forward to that being in the description. Well, it was great having you on tonight. Thank you so much for giving us so much tonight. And I look forward to connecting with you on gaming, because I do have a gaming segment too. So we definitely have to connect on that.
Yes, I love gaming. Oh my gosh, I can finally get back to it now that other stuff are done. Oh, I'm so happy.
No problem. Well, you have a good night, okay?
You too.
Thank you guys so much for joining me. We just did this for 2 hours. Y'all are amazing. I wanted to make sure this event was something that you guys could really connect with, get some great information, maybe even some education. My goal here is for you guys to go with me on my journey back into nerddom. So yeah, there's a lot of things I don't know, but guess what? It's not where I'm at. It's where I'm going. And just believe it and just know it'll happen. And I will see you guys back here next Tuesday at 8 p.m. sharp. You have a good night. Love you much.